In this episode of Talking About Orks, we're going over Stormboyz and Boss Zagstruk. So Stormboyz had a really big change from the index as far as what the rules and their role will be. So basically they're Ork boys. They have the exact same stats of Ork boys, except they have a 12-inch move and they cost 2 more points. So you're getting 7 inches of move for 2 points, which seems pretty good on the surface. You can go up to 30, just like an Ork boy unit, but it doesn't get the bonus attack for having more than 20 models. So they have Mob Rule, Iriko, Daka. Full Throttle, when the unit advances, you can add 6 to inch move instead of rolling a dice. But if you do, you on a roll of 1 each, roll dice for each model in the unit, and on a roll of 1, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And during deployment, you can set them up in flying high in the skies instead of placing them on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, the unit can plummet to the battlefield, set them up, blah blah blah, standard deep strike stuff. So in the index, Stormboyz could advance with the chance of taking mortal wounds, and then charge without any support. So you'd have just Zagstruk and Stormboyz, and that would be a complete combo right there. Now you have to add a war boss to it where they can advance and charge in the same turn, of course. Without the war boss nearby, they won't be able to advance and charge, which I think is a significant hit to what they are good at. Because in the index, Stormboyz were just insane. I mean, it was with a 12-inch move and a charge. You're talking in an advance and a charge. You're talking about a guaranteed first turn charge almost every time. I mean, because that is a 24 plus D6 threat range. And so it's hard to get out of that, especially in certain deployments. So 90 Stormboyz were definitely a thing under the index. But they've replaced that with the deep striking. And to be honest, the deep striking just isn't as good. In the index, there wasn't enough deep strike and deployment shenanigans in this book, in the Ork army. In the Codex, you've got a lot of deep striking and deployment shenanigans. A lot. And it's a huge change. I haven't really talked about too much. Because before you basically had Defcopters and Commandos were the only things that could have any sort of deployment shenanigans. Oh, and Buggies. Buggies could do that too. But that was it. Now this book with the Stormboyz and the Stratagems and Commandos, and there's just and mainly Teleporta. There's so many deployment shenanigans you can pull with this book now. And Stormboyz just kind of are extraneous to this. But there's so many things you can do here that you don't really need Stormboyz to deep strike. There's just no point. Commandos can do the same thing for a point less per model. And there's no real advantage to taking a Stormboy over a Commando. None. So why would you waste the extra points to deep strike Stormboyz when you can just deep strike Commandos and have the exact same thing? So there's really, as I see, there's no real role for Stormboyz anymore. Whereas before, the Stormboyz were amazing. Now they're just meh. I mean, true, they can still assault flyers. So they're Ork boys that can assault flyers. So that's not horrible. But again, the one thing that they could do is deep strike. One thing that they can do now is deep strike. That's their trick. That's their real trick. I mean, the other one is okay. But to be honest, especially if you're taking Evil Sons, you don't need to do that. You're going to get 3 inches on average, unless you absolutely have to stretch every inch to get that charge off. You'll probably never use a full throttle roll. There's just no reason to. You just roll the die normally. Especially if you go with Evil Sons, now you're talking 14 plus D6 move. And you can always command point that if you really need to. So, I don't think it's ever the full throttle roll will probably never come into play. So, anyway, I just don't see any reason for it. And I said, losing the charge without a war boss, advancing charge without a war boss for the deep strike, it was just not a good trade. So again, the Stormboyz have pretty much lost everything that made them awesome in the index. And that's just too bad. So what does Box Zagstruk do now? Pretty much he's exactly the same as he was. He had all the same changes as the Stormboyz. Let's see, Boss Zagstruk is a single model armed with the Vulture Claws, a Slugga Chopper, and Blitz Missiles. Blitz Missiles? What? That's something new. So he's 12-inch move, weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 5, strength 6, toughness 4, wound 6, attack 6, leadership 7, 4+ save. So he's pretty good stats, actually. So Blitz Missiles, range 18 inches, assault 1, strength 6, AP -1, D3 damage. Well, that's interesting. Slugga Choppa and the Vulture's Claws. So it's melee strength +2, AP -3, D3 damage. Each time the bear fights, you can make no more than 3 attacks with this weapon. So you have 3 of your attacks with the Vulture Claws, which is only strength 8, not strength 12. And -3 for D3 damage. Full throttle is the same full throttle rule as the Stormboyz. He does have a cyborg body, so he does have a 5-up feel no pain. And again, Goff Stormboyz, he is Goff. It's very important that he is Goff. Goff Stormboyz automatically pass morale tests when they're within 6 inches, and you can set him up and deep strike him. You know, deep striking Zagstruk by himself may not be a bad idea in a Goff detachment. Unfortunately, you obviously can't use it in an Evil Sunz detachment because he is a Goff character. And giving him the Goff Warlord trait probably wouldn't be that bad either, considering you +1 attack and +1 or one and another AP. Was it with damage? I forget which one. He is main characters. Boss Zagstruk is 88 points. So having this guy kind of deep strike on his own, even without any Stormboyz, is actually a pretty decent threat. I mean, he's got good movement, he's got good attacks, and you notice on his Vulture Claws are not -1 to hit, so he's going to be hitting with those 3 attacks on 2s, and the other 3 attacks, which actually is going to be with the Chopper, which actually becomes 4 attacks because of the Chopper rule. So he's going to have 3 Vulture Claw attacks and 4 Chopper attacks every time he fights. And with 6 wounds and strength 6, he's going to be around for a little bit. And the 5-up feel no pain, that's pretty good. So Boss Zagstruk on his own is a pretty good lone wolf, to be honest. And his ability, and he still gives this Stormboyz fearless, but they do have to be Goff Stormboyz, which does take away a little bit from the Stormboyz effectiveness, because you know something that's already fast is going to benefit from Evil Sunz a lot. But of course, Zagstruk, you have to have Goff, so you don't get that benefit. And you know, Stormboyz with Goff kind of makes up for the lack of the extra attack on the boys. So, and any unit that's fearless is extremely good in 8th edition, especially when you have massive units of 30 models. They lose half of them. As long as you have one guy within 6 inches of Zagstruk, even if they're not in coherency, just keep that last guy within 6 inches and they'll automatically pass morale. You can mob them up next turn with another. I take that back. You can't do that anymore. You used to be able to mob them up with another unit of Stormboyz. You can't do that anymore. I didn't even think about Stormboyz, because Stormboyz have been so far out of my mind because they're just not as viable as they were. I didn't even think about losing that ability with Stormboyz, because that was awesome, being able to take massive losses from a unit of Stormboyz, have them auto pass morale with Zagstruk, and then just mob them up with another unit of 30 Stormboyz next to them. That was an amazing play into the index, which is gone now completely. But I don't want to get back into my rants about mob up. For that, you can watch last week's video, or a couple weeks ago, whenever that was. Anyway, so overall, Stormboyz and Zagstruk are not what they used to be. Losing that free advance and charge without having to have the war boss nearby, because you can still do it. You can still charge an assault with Stormboyz, but again, you have to have the war boss nearby, which takes up points, which takes up an HQ slot. And it'd be better off to have you know, if you're going to have a slot there, you probably want to have the Warbanner knob there next to him instead. But remember, Zagstruk is Goff only, so that is a big limitation on Zagstruk's ability to be an effective unit. So Boss Zagstruk might not be a bad lone wolf. He definitely would be a great support for Goff Stormboyz, but if you're going to take Stormboyz, you're probably not going to take Goffs. You're probably going to take Evil Sons. So that kind of limits Zagstruk's utility. So the final word is Stormboyz are a letdown. They were, in the Index, they were amazing. In the Codex, they're meh. And have you played Stormboyz in 8th edition? Are they still as good as they once was, despite losing their ability? I just don't think they are, but only time will tell. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orcs. Please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications for new Talking About Orcs videos every Wednesday, new battle reports every Friday, and hobby videos whenever I can. Thanks for watching.